In this story, we're covering the occurrences of a half-human, half-furry beast of a deadly monster, and witness accounts have experienced its terror firsthand. Out in the state of Wisconsin, there is a rural, hollow town called Elkhorn. Around 1:30 in the morning, when Lori was driving home in heavy rainfall, a road that spans 17 miles straight across the entire town, she had no idea that just down the ways, about 1 mile where there were trees on either side of the road, she saw something of a dark, large-scaled black figure. She noticed it was watching her as her car was approaching it. As she got closer, she was now just a few tens of feet away from whatever she was seeing in front of her, but she kind of came to a stop and ever so slightly directioned her car into whatever that was in the trees. She didn't know what to do or how to react. As she was staring at this creature and it was staring back at her, she knew that whatever this thing was, it definitely was going to go after her. So she thought to herself, nope, absolutely not. I need to get out of here. So she put her car back into drive, pedal to the metal, started peeling off, tires skidding. But before she could even make it 5 feet of a distance, this 8-foot tall creature made a screeching sound so loud that she could hear it through the driver window. This thing jumped into the air, went all the way to her car, and landed on the hood of her car. Imagine this 8-foot giant wolf human devilish thing jumps on the hood of your car, clawing its way, trying to ambush and disable your car in the middle of the night. Well, before it could bash through her window and literally grab her out of her moving vehicle, the heavy rainfall was just enough to mix with its slick-like fur. This thing was too heavy and it ended up sliding off of the hood of her car and tumbling back down to the pavement. And it was now behind her. She was driving off and she saw this thing in the rearview mirror as it was looking directly at her through that same mirror. She would go on to be quoted in her occurrence, saying, "It was kneeling down on the pavement and looking right at me through my car. It had its claws up. God, I remember those claws. It even had something in its claws." She explained it something to look like some roadkill. Or maybe it wasn't roadkill. Maybe it was just something that beast had killed. The next morning, she decided, you know what, I need some answers. I need to go search for something that will tell me what I had just witnessed. She thought, there's no way that I might have even hallucinated this. This thing was real. I saw from my own eyes this thing tried to hunt me down and kill me from my vehicle. She drove right back into town, went straight to the local library, tried to sift through any books, newspapers, catalogs, articles, really anything that might give her some explanations. And she did find something, in particular an article that was in one of those catalogs, dated 1976, 10 years prior to what her occurrence was. This article talked about a very similar looking creature, about 10 feet tall, also lurking around Elkhorn. And it even came with an illustration. This illustration that looked eerily familiar with the same thing that attacked her there on Bray Road at almost 2 in the morning. She told multiple different people around the town about her occurrence, including one of her friends, quoted in saying, you know, I know what I saw. And I know that it was late at night, but I wasn't dreaming. This isn't something that you just mistake. I think it was something satanic. And I don't believe in the werewolves, per se, but I do believe that something can be conjured up. Well, what Lori didn't know at the time, this wasn't just a couple of coincidental experiences or encounters that have been documented. In fact, this same creature has had numerous encounters throughout the same road over decades. The thing was a couple of 100 years old and definitely wasn't of the natural earth by any means. In 1936, a man named Mark Shackleman, who worked as a night watchman at a local Catholic convent known as St. Coletta, was walking through some fields at midnight near the school. And nearby, along those fields, was an old and withering Native American burial grounds. And while Mark was walking in between the fields and the burial grounds, well, he noticed something off into the near distance that was off into the corner of the burial grounds, a black figure crouched down. He described it to be somewhat clawing at the ground, and he could even hear the sound of its screeching claws like nails to a chalkboard or a rock scraping against concrete. And in its side profile, he noticed it had these reflective eyes, and he could also see its large talon-like claws that were making marks into the ground. He knew that he was in the presence of something he'd never seen before. But as Mark was slowly creeping up on it, he tried not to give himself away, and so he was sort of ever so tiptoeing to maybe be quiet enough that the creature wouldn't notice him, but it was too late. He was about 20 feet behind it, and it did notice him. It heard him right there behind him, and it jolted up to its hind legs and looked dead in his eyes. And it ran away. It scurried off like a senseless creature with no sense of direction off into the darkness. One thing that he did realize as soon as this creature ran away from him is the stench that it left behind. A sort of rotting meat type of smell. And he knew in that moment this was something of death, reeking of evil. And when he knew that, he instinctively backed off and started walking in the opposite direction. He realized that he had been nearly face to face with something super unnatural, something completely evil that was conjured up from the depths of the earth. Places that you and I should never go, and something that could have definitely torn him to pieces. His occurrence on this thing is known in describing it as a very muscular, very thick, coarse fur, reflective eyes, and a grisly face. From that point on, he made his way straight home, wanting to tell his wife the next day about his near-death encounter with this creature that was clawing in the Native American burial grounds. This thing that was probably of cryptid culture in that area, but had manifested into something that reaped on humans as victims. And that following morning, he did end up talking to his wife all about this creature, describing its thumbs in particular as very shriveled up, sort of talon-like things, and really short compared to the rest of its hands. Even as he made his way back to those burial grounds, he even saw the claw markings, which proved to him that what he saw was once again real, and whatever this thing was, it was trying to get into that burial grounds for some reason. When he returned to that burial grounds, he didn't realize just yet how much danger he was actually in. Because once he was observing the area, the creature came back. And before Mark knew it, he described hearing a deep growling sound lurking behind him, along with that smell of rotting meat making its way back under his nose. It was a half-human, half-animal type of sound. And as he turned around, it wasn't backing off. It wasn't just going to run away this time. He described it saying, "We were looking directly at each other. The growling noise that this creature made was super specific, a 3-syllable. This just sent a life-threatening fear down his spine. Along with Mark's and Lori's encounters with this cryptid werewolf-type creature throughout the 1980s and 90s, there have been persistent and continuous reports throughout all of Elkhorn from multiple encounters. People have described to see it all around, running on all fours throughout the fields, killing other animals throughout the neighborhoods, running throughout Bray Road, even going to local homes and trying to break in. In fact, just 2 years after Lori's encounter, on Halloween night of 1981, another local woman named Doris also had an experience with the beast. What kind of object could have sent her 2,000-pound car lifting up one of the sides of its wheels? So she got out, trying to assess what damage might have been caused by this object, but there was nothing. The car was just crisp. It didn't make any sense. So, out of curiosity, she didn't just get back in her car and continue driving. She thought, you know what, I'm gonna look around the whole car and see what's going on here. So she made her way to the back of the car, and as she met the corner of her trunk, she saw the beast running out of the trees towards her, and she said, I just saw it running towards me. It was this gigantic thing. It looked like a human, but it wasn't. I've never seen a human run that fast. Luckily, Doris was able to run back into her car before the beast got to her first. And she did peel off, just like Lori tried to do. Driving as fast as she could, she made it out of there alive on Bray Road to live another day. That October month was insane for the monster. Here we are about to be in October on this show. She had a feeling it might have even wanted to eat her. It was one of God's mistakes. Something truly evil